So it would appear that we're back here again and about to enlighten you, enliven you, tickle your fancy if you know where it is, and hopefully crack myself up with that one. Bring you some information that might be, I can see this is going to be a lively one, that might be of benefit to you. All right. Now, on a serious note here right off the bat, I did get a request from someone who asked me if I would do a video in regards to what it would be like for somebody who is living in what a lot of us call 5D, or something along the lines like being stoned on pot 24 hours a day, 7 days a week type of thing. which is probably what it feels like to most of us, and we don't even need to smoke it, that kind of scenario. So I did say that I would give the video a shot, see what could happen. But the interesting thing is, as a general rule, I don't prepare anything for videos. I just occasionally will take a sheet of paper and I will jot down some little footnotes if it's going to be a real mind blower of a video type thing. And I did the same thing for this one here. And I ended up with a whole page full of footnotes, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at them things and I'm saying to myself, Mel, you can't do this in one video. You've got at least 15 here, all right? Because I couldn't possibly get all of this into one video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a series of videos on, and I'm going to call them The Evolution of You. What would it feel like if I were living in 5D? But I'm going to use that as a title, and then I'm going to do some of the videos. Now, before I actually get into this particular one here, I just wanted to mention to you something here that's important. Is, as we all know, there are a great many of us that are going through this evolutionary process. And I'm not going to say that I'm an expert. And I'm going to insist that everyone who listens to these videos that I do on this particular topic do not take everything I say as being written in stone, because there are going to be a great deal of variations on these evolutionary processes at a personal level, and they're going to happen based on the location of the person, the environment of the person, the upbringing of the person, the food intake of the person, and also their cultural, religious belief systems are going to have to come into play. However, having said that, what I can say is, through experience, what I've learned is there are common denominators of experience that will happen to everyone. And I just wanted to mention that in the beginning, and I'm going to give you some of the indications here of some of the videos that I'm going to be doing, just to kind of tickle your fancy, if you have one, and give you a kind of a little bit of a short summary here of some of the videos that I'm going to be doing. Body functions, diet, food, chakras, 7 to 12. 12 to pillar of light, everything that I know about it, and that's lots. Another one is going to be heart center activation with sexual attraction to another. Another one is going to be sexual heart center connection without sexual attraction. Another one is going to be sexual expression in the etheric planes, spontaneous connections with other people. We're also going to get into here the birth rate, population, and children, and not carrying the genetic and hereditary traits of parents. And less children being born. We're also going to get into how people going through the evolutionary process are affecting climate change and how the general population are having an influence on climate change. Are you getting excited now? You think I'm off my nut? Different dimensions of experiences and the realities that can be expressed. And one that I think that is very, very important for those of us who are going through the evolution of you, living without attachment. That is probably going to be one of the major ones that we're all going to have a great deal of difficulty with, because every time I'm on the internet or Facebook or in any of the Facebook groups, I can see time after time the attachment things that people have with their belief systems, protecting their egos, protecting their old, ancient, and antiquated spiritual belief systems also. Another one I'm going to do is imagination, heart center, and creativity. And in this one here is going to be one that I'm going to get into the 13th body of light. Everybody's familiar with the 12 bodies of light that you hear about in the regular situations now. Another thing that I want to mention here is this, just to so you get where I'm coming from, where I'm going to go. I'm well aware of the fact that on YouTube and the internet, there is gazillions of people who have done YouTube videos on ascension, the evolutionary process, and all of that stuff. I have not personally paid any attention to that particular group for years. I got out of the ascension stuff years ago. Matter of fact, 25 years ago. And I haven't been paying any attention to it. However, today, since I'm doing this first introductory video, if I can put it that way, is I went and took a look. And the first thing that I took a look at was, if you can believe it, somebody who was doing information supposedly from higher self. And what happened is they had a voice synthesizer, completely modulated their voice, the man and the woman that were on there giving information. And the first thing I heard in the first 5 minutes of it was started giving biblical reference to the evolutionary process, or the ascension process. So what I'm not going to be doing is doing any of that stuff. If you want to put it in simple terms, I'm going to do a country boy, as simple as possible explanation of all of the experiences that I've had personally in the evolutionary process, and the experiences of other people who have been so helpful in sharing a lot of their experiences with me. Now, I think that should cover all of the introductory type of thing, and it is not my intention to offend anyone with these videos, but I am going to be talking about sexuality a lot, and I am going to be talking about sexual attraction a lot, and I'm going to be talking about a lot of sexual connections that are going on, that are going way past most of our belief systems, and I'm going to do it freely, and I'm going to share with you what I've learned about it, and I'm not going to tolerate anybody with their stupid, antiquated comments about I should be doing this or I should be doing that, or I'm not this and I'm not that. If any of those comments come up, you're gone. Right off of my comments and right out of my YouTube page, period. All right, just so everybody understands each other. It's time we need to open up and evolve a little bit and let's go of some of our antiquated concepts and ideas about sexuality and its expression. All right, now, to kind of start off on this, what I want to do is today is I want to share with you at this particular point what I'm experiencing and what I know several other people. Here's what's happened in the last little while. Usually when I'm going to do something or something's about to arrive, I will have a set of circumstances and usually a group of people that will show up that coincide kind of where I'm at or at the same place that I am in the evolutionary process. And that's what's happened in the last several months. I've come across people who are not involved in Facebook. They're not what you'd call spiritual people at all, in the sense that they're involved in the spiritual community. They're actually people that live just a general life, like, hey, Joe Blow down the street, or, Jane Smith, whatever. And they're going through this evolutionary process, and they've been connected to us, and we've been able to derive a lot of information from them. And the first thing that I want to mention here in regards to myself is, and you have to keep in mind here, that one of the things that I'm not anticipating happening is I don't feel that this evolutionary process is going to produce anyone, not for a considerable period of time, that's actually going to become a body of light. Their body is going to disintegrate, and they're going to kind of float around 6 inches off the ground in this body of light, radiating love and all of that kind of stuff. I don't think that's happening. All right. What is going to happen is we're going to have people who have become so unattached to physicality that their bodies are going to become less dense. So therefore, they're not attached to physical reality. They're not attached to time as we know it. They're not attached to age as we know it. They're not attached to food as we know it. So therefore, they're going to be a different puppy altogether in that sense. That's happening now. And yet one thing that I also have noticed, that all of the people that I have seen that are being the most successful at this are older people. Now, what I mean by older people, and this is not to criticize or judge anyone, but it would appear to me that the evolutionary process is at this particular point in its infancy. If anyone thinks they're going to become enlightened in 6 months or a year or 5 years or 10 years, don't hold your breath while you're waiting. If you happen to be in your 20s and you have a lot of gifts and skills and whatever else, and you think you're going to be enlightened before anybody else, or you're going to live in some perpetual state of light, you have to do the same thing that everybody else does. It's no faster for anyone, the process of evolution. The process of evolution is a course of events and sequences in your life that unfolds over a period of time as you know it. And that time process is equivalent to the cell structure and the molecular structure of your body. Even if you think you are lighter and contain more, you still have to go through the process, not only in the physical body, the mental body, the spiritual body, and the etheric body. You also have to incorporate sheath bodies of light that incorporate the higher self, and I'm going to call it the oversoul for lack of a better word, because I don't have a better one to explain it, to begin to incarnate that. And the other thing that I wanted to mention this in the video briefly is some of the symptoms of someone who might be getting very close to, shall we say, a perennial state of higher consciousness. And what I mean by higher consciousness is someone who is very close or so close to being one with the higher vibration of themselves, call it higher self, and they would be experiencing symptoms, something like I'm going to mention now, and I'm going to keep it simple. I am in my 70s. The process is available to everyone and will manifest through everyone at some particular point, irrespective of your life, belief systems, and whatever. For me, being older, it is very obvious that as you are older, according to the old time scale, the body physical will slow down. You will not have the euphoria and the enthusiasm and the stamina of youth. However, what I do find that I still do have is I do have the mental faculty, the development, and the intelligence to be right there with the youngest and the best. If it comes to physical stamina and enthusiasm, that I don't have. What I do have is the mental faculty, the spiritual faculty, the spiritual maturity in that sense, and also the balance, relatively speaking, to understand that I'm going through a process. Now, I'll give you some of the indications of what I cannot do. For example, I have a great deal of time, difficult time, functioning in physical reality, period, as say a normal person would do, if normal is the correct word. I have a problem with coordination. I have a problem with functioning. I used to be a very handy person with tools, okay? I used to go out and build decks. I could construct sheds, all of that kind of stuff that basically guys can do. I can't do that anymore. Why? I can't listen to the noises of the machines anymore. They rattle my energy field. I get very agitated. I get headaches, and I can't function. I can't hold a screwdriver, for example, and actually hold and put a screw in anymore, because I can't keep my hands and my fingers going in that way. My hands and fingers don't feel like hands and fingers anymore. They feel like little emanations of light, and they're soft and fluffy all of the time, and I can't feel anything in that particular way. Another example for me also, and when I'm talking about sound, and I got to mention this because this is really funny. The guy next door, and I mentioned this in another video, all right, he's got a motorcycle. And I know a lot of guys that love motorcycles. Well, a lot of women love motorcycles too. But he's got this really neat habit that he does. He sits over here, and of course we're good now, it's winter, so he can't do it. But he sits over in the yard when the weather's good, and he starts that motorcycle up, and you know how they go. They sit there, he starts it sucker up, and he sits there on it, all right? He doesn't move, and he'll sit there for, a good 5 minutes, and every 35 seconds or so, he'll rev it up. Wow, wow. And I'm sitting there, and I'm saying, what the fuck is he doing? All right? Why is he doing that? What is that? He gets some kind of thrill, or, it's kind of a nut massage for him, or what? The vibration of the motorcycle? I can't figure it out. But it agitates the hell out of me, all right? It's the vibration that agitates me. So what happens is, even down to the point now we're listening to music, I cannot listen to any kind of music that is harsh or abrasive, like really punky rock and roll, loud rock and roll type music. I can't listen to. A lot of the new stuff that's coming out that have these different kind of beats and distinctions to them, I can't listen to those either. They're very offensive. I haven't been to a movie theater, I think, in probably 15 years, because I can't handle the sound factor that goes in there. That's just sound. Okay, we're talking about vibration. The other thing that I can't handle anymore, when I say can't handle, I should be saying I don't resonate with anymore, is I can't handle people when they're talking or they're writing, and I know they're not authentic. Authentic people have a signal or a frequency about them in the way they talk, and the way, for example, on Facebook they would write or they would comment, and I can pick them out right away, and it makes me very uncomfortable to be around those types of particular energy. The other thing that's been happening for me lately, and I'm not going to get into too much detail, is I've been spending more time in the other realms, if that's the right word. How do you say that? I can experience other realities, other timelines, other dimensions, and I'm more comfortable there than I am here, because there's no physical limitations. There's no restrictions on what you can or cannot do. And when I say no restrictions, what I mean by that is belief systems don't hold you in play. And if you have the appropriate personality development, everything will manifest in these other dimensions and realities. Now, the thing here is this, is initially when you start shifting into another state or a higher vibration, there's two little steps that I am going to get into here briefly. The first step to getting into these higher states of consciousness is heart center activation. Now, there are several different things that must happen in heart center development. And one of them is the changes of your personality, the modification of your personality. All of you pretty much know that. And here's a point that I want to make mention to you, is the more you raise up in vibration, the more you have to become more authentic. the more you move up in vibration, the less attached you are to everything that's in physical reality. And in physical reality, what I've noticed is we're all riddled with belief systems, myself included. Not as much as I used to be, and a hell of a lot less than what it's been in the past. But we're riddled with belief systems. This, I must say, I noticed this is very apparent in the spiritual community. A lot of spiritual people, they get to a certain point and they vibrate with something, and it takes them to a certain vibration, especially when the heart center has been activated. And the first phase that they go through in the heart center activation is that love, relationship, and sexuality thing that they go through. If they get beyond that, then they move into the next vibration, which is a higher vibration in the heart center development. But they still have to get higher than that. So again, it's personality. The body function has to be able to change. For example, at this particular point, what has happened with me, the food intake that I've been doing, which is beginning to be an issue with, it's not an issue per se, it's just that I'm not being able to eat a lot of the things that I used to eat. I now eat less dense food. I eat it in smaller amounts, and I eat more often, smaller amounts more often, that type of thing. Again, it's about maintaining the fuel intake for the body. For myself also, it's also important to remember that as you're going through this process, that you're going to have periods where you're going to be, how am I going to put this? I can see it, but it's hard for me to describe it. Where you're in one particular frequency or a vibration, and you seem to stay there for a while. Okay, let me rephrase that. Can all of you remember when you were going through parts of the awakening and you were in a depressed state of mind? All right. And then you would have days where you would come out of the depression and you would be on a high. And some people like to call this being manic or whatever the hell you call it in the word. And you feel like you're really up one day and you're really down the next day. And then some days you're kind of half-assed there and you're half-assed not. You have a good day here, you have a bad day there. Well, the same thing applies once you reach up into the higher vibrations of the heart center chakra. You're kind of up there and you're kind of in, I'm going to use the word 4D, 5D, 6D just for the sake of simplicity. Okay, somebody will, put another word to it, and that's okay, whatever works for you. But when you get up there, it's the same thing as being down here. It's just a different frequency, all right? Take depression and sadness and melancholy and anger and all of that stuff. These are states of being, all right? They're states of being that you have created based on the environment, the society, and the belief system that you have incorporated. So in order for you to evolve, that has to change. So what has to change? The only thing that's going to change is the state of consciousness is still the same. There's a difference between each one. You've just raised it up to a higher vibration. You're still moving through it, but now it's at a higher vibration. So what happens is you have to get accustomed to that. And the biggest thing that I have found, and I've found with so many other people they're having a problem with, and it seems to be something that people are not paying enough attention to, in my opinion, is it's wonderful to go through this evolutionary process. It's wonderful to go traveling in the theory plane. It's wonderful to have a connection with someone that's not sexual in nature or just a heartfelt connection with someone else. But you have to remember something. The body has to have time to adapt to these changes. And it doesn't matter what age you are. I don't care if you're 16 years old or you're 69 years old. You have to adapt to these changes. And depending upon the kind of, well, let me put it this way, depending upon the environment you grew up in, the functional, dysfunctional, positive, creative things that you've incorporated as belief system is going to dictate. And there is no way anyone's going to go through this quick at this particular point in time. Some people have asked me, can this all be done in one lifetime? Yes, I believe it can. Is anyone in a situation at this particular point where we're all going to go as a group and go off and ascend somewhere into the heavens on a chariot of fire and all that law stuff? No, that's not going to happen. What is going to happen is where bodies are going to become accustomed at living in a higher vibration But we need to understand that we've already experienced similar vibrations, but at a lower level. Now we have to get accomplished at moving up into the higher vibration. And what takes place is the most important thing right now in this video is the development of your personality and the letting go of the attachments that you have to belief systems, things, people, and whatever else. And people are going to say, well, Mel, it doesn't matter how much you let go, you're only going to be attached to something. Correct. But why not be attached to you? And why not be attached to the higher vibrations and the other things that are coming into your reality? Why not get attached to them? Because once you get attached to them, you have to let go of this stuff here more. And one of the things that I've noticed in the spiritual community, you can get very attached to a particular core group or a particular core group of people, and suddenly you find yourself attached to them. And that's great if they're going up on a continual basis and you're going with them. But what I'm finding is too many people, I'm going to call this the comfort zone area, all right? The comfort zone. The comfort zone is very popular amongst the spiritual community. And this is not being critical of the spiritual community. This is simply a statement. It is made by observation and experience. There's a comfort zone that gets achieved by a great many, and they become learned about what they know about. They have knowledge about what they have experienced, and they get comfortable. And as long as you're comfortable, that's where you're going to remain, all right? You may see and feel things come toward you, and you resist them because you're not wanting to move beyond that comfort zone. I've always found that the greatest growth for me is when I've had to do something that I didn't want to do, or I didn't want to look at, or I didn't want to face. And ultimately, I've learned the hard way, in some cases, that this is exactly what is happening. And we tend to become creatures of habit. We get comfortable very quickly in certain levels or certain zones. So this is what is happening at this point. Now, just before I kind of let go of the video, I want to kind of mention something here also. At this point, right now, for the next little while, because of the intensity of the evolutionary process that's going on right now with so many of us, we need to pay particular attention to the body. One thing that I'm noticing that is very apparent is a great many of us are not getting enough sleep, all right? A great many of us are not getting the proper food intake at the proper time. Now, mealtimes and set meal times shouldn't really exist for any of us who are going through this evolutionary process. We should be eating when we're hungry. And when we're hungry, we should fulfill that need on what is required at the moment. Intuition will guide you to what you want to eat. People get into the habit pattern of eating certain things that they're comfortable with. In reality, that's not a good thing either. You need to intuitively eat or take in what the body wants and desire. The other thing that I've noticed and I kind of wanted to give an example of this, is understanding that your cellular structure and your molecular structure is starting to change also. If you take a look at your body at this point, what is the condition of your body? You know, in the 20s and 30s and 40s, you should be in good physical shape. There's no excuse for it nowadays, especially if you're even half-assed awake. There's no excuse for not being in shape. And if you're in your 50s and 60s and 70s, you still have no excuse for not being in good shape. If you're not in good shape, it's because you have belief systems and you have habit patterns and dysfunctional and hereditary genetics that you've inherited from your bloodline or your family that needs to be corrected. So the idea here of taking care of the body physical is so important right now, and I can't stress this enough. The reason for that is very simple. In the last little while, what's been happening, and I'm going to leave the video at this point when I get done, I have been having and some experiences, and I've had it verified by 3 or 4 other people I've come in contact who are having the same experience. And I'm going to share a little bit of it here on this video, and then I'm going to close it off because there's so much more I can do here, and I don't want to, get too lost in the video here. As of late, what's been happening is I've been having at night and sometimes during the day a strange thing that's been happening. It's like someone stick a stun gun on the back of your head, right about somewhere about there, and turns the sucker on. And immediately there's a loud shock, goes all the way through my head and into the brain. It's like the whole brain is being stimulated for just a split second. This has been going on now for about 3 months, and this has happened just after most of the lower chakras already closed down on me, and I'm kind of gotten into that pillar of light type of chakra system, which I'm going to get into more on a later date. And these stun gun things, first of all, I thought there was something physically wrong with me, and I had a few people get a hold of me. One of the things I like is I have contact with a lot of people all over the world, so it gives me input as to what's going on. So I know that if this is happening to me, it's got to be happening to other people, because I know of 3 other people it's happening to. And what's happening is for short periods of time, the brain is being stimulated into a very active state of mind, a very active state, all right? And I've noticed that at night when they're happening, I'm in between the wake state and the sleep state, somewhere in between, so I'm aware of it. And I notice during the day now, occasionally what's happened is this. I get the same effect, but it's not sharp or intense in the brain. It almost feels like I'm having a small orgasm everywhere in my head, all right? Which is probably not a bad idea. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a nice orgasms in the back, in their head? I think it's a great idea. But that's happening, and the other people are validating it for me also. So what's happening, excuse me, what's happening is I also believe at this point that there are some of us who are having both hemispheres of the brain are becoming fully activated or illuminated. Now, I do notice also when I'm having these things, I can feel an expansion right around the head that spreads out like a wave for a short period of time. The bursts are getting longer at night, but the ones that come periodically are soft, and as I said, they have kind of an orgasmic feeling to them. Orgasm is a stimulation. Orgasm can be experienced anywhere in the body, in the fingertips, in your elbow, all right? We're not limited to where we can experience an orgasm, contrary to popular belief. And I believe that the brain can be stimulated, and I believe that's what's happening. I also notice that as these effects with the brain are happening, usually I have found myself the next day, and I'm having them every day now, every day, pretty much. I think I missed one day in the last 3 months of not having them. Every day, and I have noticed that my thinking has become much sharper. The clarity of information has become much clearer. The only problem that I'm having, this may have to do also, and some of you may have noticed it, is I seem every once in a while to burble. What's a burble? Burble is when the words don't come fast enough out of your mouth because there's some coming too quick in your head. And I'm finding verbal communication can become a burble because I can't get it out fast enough as it's coming, and my voice box burgles it. How do you like that one? That's a new concept. We're going to burgle our way through it. All right, and that's the other thing that I've been noticing. So what I'm having to do is during the course of doing videos, I'm having to do some breathing from what I call no time. Now, no time breathing is different than normal breathing because you don't feel like you're breathing. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of end it with this little teaser here. Over the years, what I've been doing, many of you have noticed, and I've taught quite a few of you, they'll probably watch this video, I've been showing people how to breathe through the flower. in the center of their chest, the symbol for the heart center chakra. What's been happening is in order to maintain the body physical at a higher density and frequency, none of us are breathing properly. Most of us are lazy belly breathers, all right? And what happens is this exercise that I've been sharing with people moves you into non-awareness breathing, but from up here and in the heart center chakra, which is highly necessary if you're going to maintain higher states of consciousness and move into evolutionary process. Why? One of the downfalls of the evolutionary process is you still have a body. The body has to be maintained, but the body has to be maintained in these higher states of consciousness by the simple act of breathing. The breathing that we're normally doing from below the diaphragm, which is a habit pattern with most people, is not sufficient to oxygenate the blood, which is needed to move up and into the brain and so on, keep the heart going. So you have to get a higher vibrational breathing. That's what I've been trying to do in some cases with a lot of people over the years with the exercises. So you must move into no time by becoming less aware of the breathing, as if you're breathing the other way. You're breathing the spiritual energy as opposed to just breathing oxygen. When you're breathing the spiritual energy and the air together, you have fusion. And when you have fusion, you have illumination and ignition up here in the head. And this will take you into the evolutionary process even more so. Okay, that's the first one of the videos that I'm going to do. I hope you didn't find it too boring. And I touched on a lot of stuff briefly here, which I'm going to get into great detail at a later time. Hopefully it's not too long. And hey, if you need further information or you want help with your evolutionary process, you know where to find us, twinflames.ca, that's our website. And I'm there, and Nicole is there for any help that you may need in your own pathway, if and when you need it. Have a great day, everybody. Keep warm.